Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome back to Edessa. So in this particular scene, Garland, oh, after his training sessions with Sir Wilhelm, has been wanting to blow off some steam and just travel throughout the city of Edessa to get his mind off of the countless books he's forced to read and painful combat sessions to make sure that he becomes a proper knight in Sir Wilhelm's eyes. He decided to go through the racks, feeling that it's relatively open territory, doesn't have to worry about it too much, but he'll still keep on his toes and remember to do things in the most civilized manner when it comes to Canite society. As he begins going through the streets, he goes to the typical areas he knows that are interesting places to check out. The slums, the taverns, just traveling throughout the night and seeing if he sees anything worth putting his attention to. So,
Likewise, Garrick he'll be making his way through the streets. As he does this, he's got a cloak over, he's wearing his peasant's robes, his kind of face is shrouded, but now he's walking along trying to blend in as a beggar, and he's also got his auspex too on. He's trying to, he's just looking around after his last experiences. He wants to make sure he's not being followed, but if he doesn't see anything, then he'll turn it off eventually. But essentially, he's just walking around trying to blend in, and I can do a roll for that or to spot you. It's up to you.
all right. I do wish to inform you, I probably should put it on the overlay, but I do have Deceptive Aura. But you will
Me too.
notice, yeah, but you will notice, regardless, that once you get near a certain individual, or just in this typical night of Odessa, being in a relatively desert environment, it does get cold. But you notice going around maybe a particular individual, there seems to be an unusual, say, stinging breeze. Nothing that wouldn't really disturb a canine, but people, mainly the mortals, seem to obviously either feel uncomfortable or even avoid a particular person in a cloak, as this cold, sharp breeze seems to surround this individual.
Oh, so I'll so Garrick kind of notices this cold breeze moving around, and what he'll do is I'll do the roll anyway. See if I see your deceptive aura. Does he? Gets one success, so he does, but his eyes are still kind of downcast, he's shrouded, but he'll spot that and he'll turn it off, and he'll be walking through the streets kind of rattling. He's rattling a tin cup, his begging kind of cup, and he'll kind of say, "Alms for a poor man, alms for a poor man, alms for a poor man." And as he does this, he'll feign a limp as he's doing this. I'll just do a dex performance, see how well that goes. So he's definitely noticeable, but nobody in the bazaar really seems to be paying attention to him. As he's walking through, they seem to kind of part or kind of avoid this poor beggar who's walking through.
Garland, seeing the beggar, will come up a bit closer to him and go through one of his bags on his belt loop, and tosses him just a few coffers. So,
As he does that, Garrick will he'll open his palms to receive the coins, and then as he does that, he'll kind of get on his knees and say, "Thank you, kind sir. God bless you. God bless the charitable." And he'll kind of shiver a little.
yeah. Seeing the man shivering a bit, he he doesn't get necessarily curious. He's at this point, Garland would think that this must be immortal because only mortals tend to shiver when he's around. He just looks at the man and goes, uh, he says, like, it's no trouble at all. Just, and he just kind of puts a hand on his shoulders, like, have a good night, sir. And he begins kind of just walking further forward.
Garrett will, as that happens, Garrett will nod. And as you've been next, Garrett, you'll probably notice there's kind of an odd kind of smell of just kind of wet earth and dirt. It's kind of pungent, but he'll nod. Thank you, sir. Pray pray tell, do you know anywhere where there's where anywhere with food to eat in the area? It has been several nights since I have eaten.
Mm. He stops and looks at the man. And you said he has a wet punch smell. Does he actually look wet in any type of way?
No, dry as a bone, but it kind of smells just like it smells like kind of dirt, essentially.
Would this dirt smell kind of remind him possibly of grave soil?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Perhaps if you are accustomed to such things.
Not necessarily, but grave soil always kind of has that distinct smell. But he turns to him and he feels he just doesn't. He just kind of looks at him a little bit more distinctly, and he just says, "It depends on what kind of food you're looking for."
Garrett will Garrett will just kind of nod. Um, at that, he kind of gets what he's getting at, but Garrett will squint his eyes and say, "Anything, anything you can spare, sir? Perhaps a bowl of broth, or is there special food that my lord would enjoy? I'm sorry but if I'm bothering you."
And he sees the beggar and goes, "It depends on how much time you have. There's a place I know in the older part of the city where I could possibly give you some food."
Mm, Garrett will raise a brow. Perhaps we could do for a walk first, my lord, if it doesn't take. I hope I don't take up too much of your time.
Uh, he just nods to him and is like, "It's no problem. I'm wishing to kill some time today, anyways. Then there's no need. I'm no lord. I'm merely I'm merely a person like anybody else." And he kind of get expresses his hand to him like he's trying to help him stand up.
Mm. Garrett will take your hand. He spent a blood point, or if he hasn't yet, he will spend a blood point just to make him feel more human. But he'll take your hand and kind of strain or appear to strain to lift himself up. And he'll nod. Yes, of course. I do apologise. I'm much used to dealing with my betters. And he'll kind of try and give a faint smile.
But he just nods at that and goes, "Come here. Well, follow me. This will." And as he begins walking in the direction of Old Town, he's taking particular routes that necessarily isn't necessarily crowded with people or more or less are more abandoned to
Mm-hmm.
most.
As this happens, Garrett he'll activate his heightened senses just in case, but he's paying attention as you're kind of walking along with him. Garrett will just kind of give him a faint outline of a smile.
Mm.
May I have your name, then I may pray for you to our Lord and thank you for what you are doing.
As they continue on his walk, he'll respond, I'm Cervantes, Garland Cervantes.
He'll he'll nod. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mister Cervantes. Are you new to the city?
I am. I've come here recently for work.
Ah, he smile. He smile. He'll kind of have a faint outline of a smile. For work, what? If I may ask, what kind of work? Are you a craftsman, or perhaps?
If anything, I'm pretty much a porter. Do whatever the money tells me to do.
He'll he'll um he'll nod. Good work, especially at the docks. I hear many ships coming and going with cargo and to go up and down the river. All sorts of things. Good business, I hear.
Yeah, it keeps me well afloat, and you see a little bit of disappointment, or just more or less, kind of best way to put it is concern. Like it doesn't pay enough for him.
Okay, he's definitely gonna do a perception empathy on that. Just one success.
Yeah, he doesn't make a lot. It's like it's obvious. It's not like it's you don't know initially if he's like that, if he's that poor, but he doesn't make enough.
Garrett will just kind of nod. But perhaps you're a man with ambition. We were all of us born from the dirt of such ambitions to rise. I'm just a poor beggar, but I am grateful at least for what I have.
So it's good to appreciate whatever you can obtain, but you should always strive for more if you can.
He'll sometimes being good at what you do is important from anything from being a porter to being a beggar, and knowing what to ask and how best to show people that you really are in need. Perhaps similar things.
He'll just nod to him, and, and he begins to state, "So, you dig a lot."
Derek will just kind of he'll look down to his clothes and he'll say, no. I'm afraid not, my lord. I just sleeping the dirt. I don't often have a place to go to. Sometimes I I have to go to refuse piles in the worst parts of the city.
And he
And
nods, and he goes, "That's unfortunate." But and he kind of sniffs at the air a bit. Oh, I only asked that because you have a don't take this as offense, a particular odor that seems a bit unusual for a beggar.
mm, he'll he'll just raise an eyebrow. Perhaps I hadn't noticed it myself. Please forgive me if that offends you.
No, it's nothing that offends me. It's just different. The beggars that I've seen, they have more of a smell of the refuse of unfortunate destitute. You smell best on again, no taking offense, a little bit of death on you.
Garrett, Garrett will kind of almost raise a half eyebrow at that. But he's got still quite a blank expression. I do apologize, Mr. Cervantes, for I I am sorry if you have encountered many beggars or much death on your travels. It sounds like you have.
I I've done some things that made me acquainted to it.
You nod, as have we all. Though I hope the good Lord will forgive us for what we have to do.
And
As far as I have been told, the good Lord will forgive anyone who asks for it. We'll just come a little behind uh, Garland, as Madeline just walks up behind him and just says, "Good evening, Garland. Good evening, my good man. Have we
and
met before?"
hearing Madeline's voice, he kind of twitches a little bit and turns to her.
Madeline will just pass a couple of coins to the beggar and just, "I do believe that we have met before. No?"
So, that was just a roll to see how well he hides it. Yes, so as Madeline appears, Garrick, unless anyone's observing particular attention, Garrick seems somewhat surprised, but he doesn't jump out of his seat or anything like that. He'll just nod. Of course, my lady. It is a pleasure to see you again in less urgent circumstances, as I do trust that, yeah. I do trust that she is much better. And he'll kind of give a very polite, respectful nod. Mr. Cervantes has been showing me round. I was not aware he was, and he was new to our parts of town. And he'll kind of give an eyebrow.
Well, we all have to start someplace. Well, he is taking a couple of pointers from me for one. You cannot fault him for that.
Garrick will nod. As is wise, the word of the former seneschal is very valuable. I hear, and he has been a perfect gentleman since I encountered him.
Madeline will just crack a smile and look over at Garland. Just, "Gentlemen, well, I suppose, in a certain way."
Garland doesn't look at her directly.
His quite blunt nature is, well, I suppose there is a certain brute honesty in what he says, but I would not say gentleman was my first impression of him. But he has proved himself better with time.
Hmm. Garland will look over to Garrick and said, "You're good at hiding yourself. I didn't notice. Only thing that tipped me off was your smell."
Garrick would just nod. Well, as I remarked, a man did not know. It pays for one to be cautious, especially with the beggars disappearing on the streets these nights.
Garland's eyebrow is slightly raised, but he just kind of nods, thinking with information he knows that he might be aware of what you're referring to.
It is pretty common knowledge.
But he does look at Garrick and goes, "Are you hungry? I do have blood to spare, hopefully."
Garrick will just kind of look around, make sure they're in a deserted place, but say, I am I am most well, my lord. As our lady has joined us, perhaps it may be more appropriate to head back to the rack. I would not want any of us to step on territory.
Well, that is true, but that's why I wish to take you to Old Town. That's a Bruja domain, and I am a Bruja.
Garrick will just nod his head. Of course, please forgive me. I've not encountered one of your blood for quite some time. Neil kind of looked towards Lady Madeline, Sister Madeline, kind of knowingly. I do trust Father Louis as well.
I haven't met this father. Is he another one of my clan, I assume?
Quite so.
So I'll have to speak to him. So it'd be only proper.
Seeing as you are such a gentleman, perhaps you should.
Thank you, Madeline. And he says it necessarily in a sarcastic tone, but more of a, I guess, best way to put it is a slightly irritated tone, but he understands why.
Yeah, Garrick's also gonna P&E that.
Yeah, I actually probably should roll for that. Actually, I will roll for that. I need to.
Yeah, are you doing a subterfuge, Peter, or are you doing a perception? Oh, subterfuge, okay. Right, that's... I think you should be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. Stone-faced. Right.
Oh, no,
Garrick.
Madeline says that you could. I mean, take that for what it is, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also look to Madeline. Though I doubt it is too much a word. Are you hungry as well, Madeline?
Tonight I have actually fed well. I am not. No, I'm quite well. I will not. But suppose we have entered this domain without any permissions directly. I suppose we should move to neutral ground.
That's perfectly fine. With all the domain breaches of late, it'd probably be the safest bet.
Garrick would nod. Yes, you are both most wise, and why? For very safety in numbers, perhaps.
I am quite certain that you have nothing to fear, even with the instabilities at the moment. I do not believe that a number of. I do believe that you are quite safe.
Garrick will pause for a moment, then he'll just kind of, nod along. Perhaps it could be, but in my line of work, I like to be as careful as possible. I have heard there have been several domain breaches, and that they may walk among us. It is interesting, but I'd rather stay well away from it.
That is understandable.
And he'll nod. Of course, I do not mean to. I do not mean to offend you. I am sure that with you by our sides, we are more than safe, and that our elders are taking steps to handle the situation.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I think you cut out.
Oh, okay. Garrett nodded and said, "Of course." He nodded and said, "Of course, as you wish. I'm sure that we will be much safer with you by our side, and that our betters will take care of this situation."
Oh, well, I would not, perhaps not bet or be too sure of that. I was attacked when I was invited to a dinner recently, so
Oh,
Hmm.
perhaps
Garland,
you are more right to be suspicious of strangers and staying outside. It is more warranted than I give it, than I would think it.
Of course, my lady, though I fear I do not get invited to many dinners these days.
hearing that information, Garland will kind of blink at Madeline, like kind of a mixture of surprise and concern.
She doesn't seem to really like engage or anything. She just smiles and just another lesson.
Hmm.
Well learned. The one I apparently needed to relearn, but
Well, the big thing is that you're safe. So, and when you bring up lessons, you see Garland kind of twisting his left shoulder a bit, like he's rolling it, like it's stiff.
well, I was accompanied. Well, I was actually assisting someone else, but I got myself and that person out. Well, it resulted in me being owed a blood boon by that person, but such is the way.
He nods. So, whatever these people, I'm assuming at this point, seem to be relatively aggressive at, I guess they're really trying to prove a point on something.
These people,
Huh. Recently, me and my compatriots, or at least the ones I was asked to work with, we were investigating one of the slums within Edessa, and we ran into two beings. One was a canine, one was something else. It was big and winged, and it was able to obscure itself even in direct confrontation.
that sounds disconcerting.
Hmm.
It's strong and resilient, and the wings do seem to function properly, which is even more disturbing. It was able to fly with the canine away when we were trying to capture them.
Garrett, Cool nod. Hmm. These are dark times, though I fear I shall avoid these slums unless they are the South Wall ones.
My dear, you must understand one thing. It is always dark times. The, the only thing is when you are, well, before when we were mortal, our lifespans are so short and we are constantly in a state of change that we do not see necessarily all the dangers that haunts and lurks in the darkness. But dark times are always upon us.
He'll nod. Of course, as you say. It is always dark times, but perhaps change might be good. I don't know if you would agree or not. Though that is my personal perspective, but I am still very young and do not know much about the history of our city.
There is much to learn. But I can, however, if you would want it, I can instruct you on certain things of the city itself and the history around this place. If you desire so, of course.
He would just be quiet for a second, and then he'd say, Of of course, my lady. I'm sure that is two new presences in the city, shall we say. Any knowledge of the history of the stones we stand on would be well served, especially when taught by someone as prominent as yourself. I hope you are enjoying your return.
Oh, I am. There has been a couple of, well, unpleasant surprises, I suppose you could say, but, well, not entirely unforeseen things when you leave at your own volition and see the place run by others. Some people will have taken offense to that, and, well, it is not in everyone's nature to forgive such things.
Oh no. Sorry, were you going to say something, Darren?
No, Garland is just kind of
Oh.
sighing out.
But no, Derek will nod. Yes, yes, of course. Forgiveness is difficult, but sometimes necessary. Why? We all hope that we can be forgiven one day for being the sinners that we are.
Uh, and Garland's just kind of, he's trying to say something, but he's stopping his words. It's a difficult matter, depending on who you talk to.
Derek,
Just as a thing, like Madeline is not answering this, not contributing to this particular question or conversation subject.
yeah. Derek will probably note that, but he'll just, as the conversation grows a bit more quieter, as I assume they're headed towards the bazaar, he'll just give a faint outline of a smile towards Garland and say, Of course, if there is anything you need, I would be most happy to help. I know what it is like to be alone and afraid.
That's much appreciated, Garrett.
I might take you up on that offer at some point.
And well, with that, I guess we get to more of a neutral part of Edessa. Garland will look over to Madeline and goes, I have been tasked to be the squire of the sheriff of recent.
I see.
Yes.
On your own volition?
A blessing and a curse due to my actions of recent.
Well, potentially a position that will, well, help you, at least in some way.
I don't know if it's anything of official capacity, but the training is still real regardless.
Quite
And
so.
again, he moves his left arm a bit in the circle. I've had access to many tomes, which has been very much enlightening.
So while this has been going on, Garrick has just been kind of listening along. Neil listens for a point about time, so he'll just nod. Yes, yes. Do you consider yourself a learned man, my lord?
So I try to be, and like I said, I'm no lord. I have learned throughout my travels that it seems to be safer to be wise than ignorant, despite what some people may say.
Garrick will kind of nod to that. Of course, it is wise to learn about the streets. I'm sure a lady seneschal will agree. What do you make of Edessa so far? I hope she's treating you well. And he'll kind of glance at Garland.
It's a particular city. It's interesting, if nonetheless. I I've never been, I guess, directly involved in Canine society, so it's relatively new for me. But I would say that it at least will give me a great opportunity to learn and to prove myself.
To pass on my well, regards to the sheriff. But next time you see him,
Yes, of course, Lady Madeline. I mean, Madeline.
I would very much look forward to seeing what it is the good sheriff would have you do. He has quite a few things to see to at the moment, but oh well.
Well, right now, it's been a mixture of academics and physical training.
And
Well,
surely he would have you go and what shall we say, protect the city in more ways than one.
I guess on a more official matter, yeah, eventually, but nothing of the sort right now. I just get to deal with the slashing and the beatings of the sheriff and the heckling of some of his retainers. And he kind of scowls in another direction when he gets to that part.
Well, the two of you must have a very, very lovely evening. And I will get back to you if there was to be anything I would have require assistance with. But really, I must be going. Have a very, very good evening.
Garland
Garrick.
will,
Oh, sorry. I'll let Garland go first.
yeah, Garland will bow to Madeline.
Garrick will also give a very deep bow. As you wish, my lady. It was lovely to see you again. May I ask before you go, if you need help, is there a way you can be contacted or?
And she will give a directions to a house in the merchant's quarter where you can leave a message.
Of course. Of course. Thank you for your company, and I do hope your problems are solved soon.
Well, one can always hope, but we will see. And the player will now leave because he has something he needs to do. But we'll see you around.
Derek will turn to Garland. Well, you've already met our former seneschal then.
Yeah. I've talked to her on several occasions.
Oh. He smiles. I've only met her once before, but she seems pleasant, and he'll smile.
She seems very astute, and she is a very open-minded person, which I do appreciate.
He'll nod. Of course, as fitting for any lady of such rank, especially one of her bloodline. And he'll give a faint smile. I'm glad she's open-minded, though. I am unsure why she would need to be so open-minded around you.
Well, from other people of similar rank, they seem to have more stricter views.
He'll nod. Perhaps, though. I am unsure what you mean. I apologize.
No reason. It's just something I've ran into since I've been here.
Of course. Oh, I'm an uneducated man myself, and I don't have many social graces. But if you wish to meet again, or perhaps if you ever want to discuss business, if you are Porter, then perhaps we shall meet again.
And he nods, and he goes into his bag and brings out a few more coffers and says, "Actually, I could use your help for something."
He'll kind of just tilt his head. Oh, would you like to talk somewhere more private, or can we speak here? I would not want to impede you.
No, it's fine. It will be something minor. As he gives the coffers.
Derek won't. Derek will just take a step back, and he'll take a step back, but he'll frame it as like another kind of bow. Of course, may a man ask what help another young neonate might need?
And he says, "I could use an extra pair of eyes for a task I'll be doing soon."
He'll kind of nod. So you are a man of the streets then, and you could use another pair of eyes. Question is, which pair of eyes? Where would you see these eyes?
I would like these eyes to be nearby and to record my actions and the actions of others when acquiring a certain item.
So you're in. Neil, think for a second. You take objects. Interesting. Dangerous work. Very interesting.
It's what I've been trained to do.
Of course, it takes a lot of training, and I imagine it takes a lot of training to be able to be unnoticed. A beggar's eyes could suit such a task, though. The prize must surely be valuable if he needs the help of another.
That it is, but I'm concerned that I may be put in a poor situation once I acquire the object.
Garrett will listen. Well, that's understandable. I wouldn't want another one of my fellows on the street to get into trouble, of course. You're sure everything is quite all right?
It's more of me being precautious.
Hmm.
I I have known such things when, given the opportunity, people will, let's just say, overtake the situation. I feel with the people that have been asked to go with to acquire this item, once we acquire it, they may basically, just for simplicity's sake, stab me in the back.
Oh, Emma, you are speaking of others like us?
I assume that these individuals will either be that of his children, or either servants of the children. Not
Of
sure
the,
yet.
of the children? And he'll kind of squint, kind of almost as if he's not understanding.
Uh, he's he says the children of Cain.
Yeah, he'll nod. Then such an item must be a valuable item indeed. Something that would be able to finance a Porter and a bedder for quite some time.
And when you say that, he goes onto a particular loop around his back, and he brings out a handful of, best way to put it is the highest value of currency that would most likely be available in Edessa.
Hmm. Garrett will kind of nod. A beggar has eyes, and those eyes can be put to good use. But there is no need. You have already given me coin, and we can discuss payment once a man knows what the job is. Why, a beggar would be a poor beggar if he did not know which men to ask for money and how much he should be given.
And Garland will put some of the coins back into a holster and says, "But risk deserves to be rewarded." Said, "We will
He'll
speak."
he'll nod. Of course, I am afraid I have begging to attend to, and I must find shelter. But is there a place I can contact you if you wish a pair of eyes to be somewhere?
And he nods. There's a particular place owned by a merchant. We can meet there and discuss um, let's see, further information of executing this plan. And he tells you a particular place and at a particular time and to meet him at to further the discussion of this job.
Of course, we may talk there and find much in common. Pray tell, I do not wish to inquire too much into your business, but this item is going to a very specific person. No. You don't need, or do you have someone to sell it off for?
I was asked to acquire this item for somebody to see the information within it. I was paid handsomely up front already.
He'll nod. Of course, as is fitting. But perhaps next time we meet in the merchant's place, this could also be a place for a beggar to spend his hard-earned coin.
Said, and he nods. Then I hope we can meet soon and enjoy the spoils of our labor.
Of course, we shall speak later, and man shall let you know of his circumstances. And then I'm going to do just an perception empathy roll. He's trying to gauge how you I think he either fails or botches, but he's just trying to gauge. He was just trying to gauge, how sincere you were being, was coin being offered. But he won't get anything. If anything, he'll probably be slightly inclined to think that he may be getting another deal out of this. But he'll just kind of nod his head. I must get back to business, but it was a pleasure meeting you.
And he'll lightly bow to Garrett. As to you.
And as he does that, Garrett will he'll nod, but he'll almost step a little closer to him. And there is no need to bow to me. I am just a young neonate, the same as you. Perhaps we could call each other friend instead, if I may call you Garland.
That is fine.
He'll have kind of a faint outline of a smile.
And Garland will begin to kind of looking at the sky, kind of looking at the stars and the moon. Well, I hope to see you soon, and I hope that we can agree on something beneficial for both parties. And he'll begin walking back in the direction of Old Town.
Of course. And Garrick will turn away. And do you look behind you as you're going, or?
No, he just begins to keep walking that direction.
Okay, you won't say anything. But what happens essentially as Garrick walks away is he disappears once back again into the shadows. And I assume that will be the end of C.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Have a good morning, evening, or night.